He was 100% right. He had already made up his mind that he would have nothing to do with the affair. There he was 100% mistaken. Why the hell, Von Flanagan said, getting back to his original theme, would anybody want to murder a postman? Malone didn't know, and in spite of his present state of mind, he was intrigued. He could imagine anybody wanting to murder a policeman, or a bank teller, or a chorus girl, or a millionaire, maybe even a lawyer. But a postman? No. Not at least in his official capacity as a postman. Robbery? He suggested at last. Von Flanagan shook his head. Nothing none of those guys carried had been touched, he said. Nothing had been stolen. He scowled into his gin and ginger ale. All three of these guys were killed in the same place, and in the same way, and at the same time of day, he said. A very swell neighborhood, too. It seemed to offend him a little that murder should take place in a very swell neighborhood. They have a regular route they all follow, he went on gloomily. 4 big houses in 1 block, 1 vacant. Then they go up an alley between 2 of the houses. That saves half a block's walking, getting to the next house. It was in the alley they got killed. Clubbed, every one of them. Hit square in the head. We never found a club yet. He drew a long, profane-sounding breath. A gun you can trace, maybe. Knives, too, sometimes. But a club or a blackjack is the very devil of a thing to find. He sat silent for a moment. Damn it all, he said at last. Why do people have to go out of their way to make things hard for me? Malone didn't know that either and didn't especially care. He was mostly concerned with whether or not Von Flanagan was going to pay for the drinks. He was cherishing the crumpled $5 bill in his pants pocket in the hopes of considerably enlarging it that night in a poker game. And Joe the Angel had extended about all the credit that could reasonably be expected. On the other hand, if Von Flanagan did pick up the check, there would be a certain moral obligation to give a little advice in this matter of the 3 murdered postmen. I never wanted to be a cop, Von Flanagan said mournfully. And most of all, I never wanted to get promoted to the homicide squad. Now, on top of that, why do people deliberately try to make my job worse than it is already? He had a profound conviction that murderers attempted to conceal the evidence of their crimes as a personal affront to himself. Well, anyway, he said at last, we're going to go pick up this guy. He must have done it. Bring us a couple more, Joe. He's a cracked old bird. His sweetie went off on a boat someplace about 30 years ago, the Titanic, I guess it was. Anyway, it got sunk and she got drowned. Only he thinks she's still a tourist over in England, and she's going to write to him. So every day he goes down and asks the postman, does he have a letter from her? I figure he must have decided the postmen were holding out on him. So he bops them on the head, one after another. The post office is having a hell of a time getting guys to take that route. Sure, Malone said with forced enthusiasm. That's the way it must have been. You've got your murderer with the motive for murdering nobody but postmen, so what are you worrying for and bothering me? He knew why. He knew that for some reason not yet confided, Von Flanagan wasn't sure of his case. Well, you see, the police officer said, this guy ain't got no lawyer yet, so I thought maybe you'd like to come along. Hell, I'm just trying to do you a favor. Malone sat up straight. The office rent was due again, not this month's, but last month's. Maggie, his secretary, was beginning to look decidedly wistful about her salary, and he couldn't really depend on that poker game tonight. He would appear to be a ready-made client. Tell me, he said, has this guy got any money? Money? Von Flanagan exploded. He's got half the money in Chicago. This guy is Mr. Fairfax, Mr. Rodney Fairfaxx. Malone downed his drink and bounded to his feet. Well then, he said, what are we waiting for? He rushed to the door strategically while Von Flanagan paid for the drinks. There were 4 houses in a row in the block just east of North State Parkway. On the east corner of the block was a brick wall, enclosing a garden belonging to a big house on Astor Place. And between the wall and the last of the 3 houses was a narrow alley, leading back to the next street south. It was possible to see into the alley from the windows of the house that bordered it, or anyone passing by in the street could see into it. Across the street was another large enclosed garden. The alley was admirably secluded, Malone observed, in case anyone wanted to use it for a murder. The little lawyer reflected that, swell neighborhood or not, the alley was just as littered with rubbish, waste paper, empty bottles, tin cans, and battle-scarred cats as the far less aristocratic alleys only a mile to the south. He didn't disapprove of the condition. Indeed, it was a democratic touch which rather pleased him. Every one of 'em was lying right there, Von Flanagan said, pointing. Heads stove in. None of 'em ever knew what hit 'em. Malone looked at the spot indicated on the paving. It didn't tell him much. Who found them? He said at last. The post office found the first one, Von Flanagan said. People farther along his route began calling up and squawking on account of their mail wasn't delivered yet.